For 30 years, we have been watching the slow and steady decline, trying to sound the alarm about the need to reach people in rural and remote places who've had little alternative except by that being offered by authoritarian forces that seek to destroy our systems, from the inside out. We will not get to the place that we need if we don't start forming relationships, building bridges, creating space for all of us to move together in a forward direction, to block the threats that we face, and to build the future that we deserve. This is our moment. We may not have another. And so the work we are asking you to embark on with us is to have these conversations, to reach across difference, to break down those stereotypes of who is good and who is bad and how we view each other, and to recognize that we are in a collective battle for the future of our lives, for the future of democracy, and the world that we will leave behind. This is our work.
We need so much help, and I think that we really are gonna need lots of people, and I think it'd be great when we have those people, because that means more people for voting, more people that can help, and more people the merrier. More people will definitely help this world.
There's a little shop that we're gonna stop at. They were selling at the time out on the front watermelon, corn, and Confederate wind flags. And I told him what I did, and he said, well, I'm guessing that we are on polar opposites of the political spectrum. And I said, maybe. Let's find out.
What are the fears that you have if that division doesn't stop, if it just keeps getting worse?
If it keeps getting worse, I'm honestly afraid that there will be people ending up in fights. And when I grew up, a fight was a fist fight. Now it's knives or guns.
We're all just human, and we're all looking out for each other. And if we can't be there for one another right now, and if we're just getting into this dividedness, and unfortunately, I really do think that liberals have done this too. I've done this of, I'm not going to talk to this person because I think so differently than them. And I think about all the really strong relationships that I've ever had, and it's been with people who have very different political spectrums than me.
Change is really hard and it's really uncomfortable. And I'm not comparing leaving MAGA to past activists. But when we look at our country's history, whether it was the abolition of slavery or women's suffrage or the elimination of Jim Crow or LGBTQ rights and marriage equality, getting that change was really hard because it required unlikely but necessary alliances. To see any change, you have to step outside the comfort zone and you have to go into unfriendly territory. That's what we've tried to do at our organization, is to go into unfriendly territory. And it's very uncomfortable to go through a personal transformation. Something that I always say is when I left MAGA, I became a born-again human being.
Americans have fallen to the perception that we're far more polarized than we are. And that's because at the top of our political hierarchies, people are extremely polarized. And so we need to start to think about how we as ordinary Americans can defy the interests of those political elites and start to try to reach out to one another in order to create the beloved community for us to start to make the demands that are necessary and move us ahead.
You know, we want people who are 45 to work with people who are 25, to work with people who are 65. We want them all working together. There's a lot of knowledge and power there.
Something dramatic changed over the last 150 years, 100 years. And it's not different from the story of what changed in our economy, what changed in our politics. It's a story of monopoly. It's a story of extraction. It's a story of polarization. And the details sometimes wash over us. We forget, we just think, oh, look what happened to the media.
If I were to stand in front of my 12-year-old niece 10 years from now, and she were to ask me, Auntie Lisa, what were you doing? I want to be able to say to her, and I will be able to say to her, that I was engaging every possible way that I could save, really join with a company of people all over the world that were fighting to save democracy. And particularly here in the United States, this beautiful, powerful, flawed, beautifully flawed, ragtag group of dreamers who believed so deeply in the dream of true democracy, in the dream of a world where every single person has the dignity that they were created to bear.
I would just tell people, like, we need to stand together. We need to do things together as a unit and not as separate people. We need to do things not based off the color of our skin, not based off who we are as people, gay, straight, whatever. Like, it shouldn't even matter. Like, we are all still people, and we should all, like, help each other and stand with each other and fight for the same thing, because we all kind of still want the same things here in America.
I don't need to tell you how polarized and divided our country is today. To say that we are experiencing multiple crises at the same time is not an exaggeration. And our democracy is hanging by a thread. What we know is that we need a mass movement in this country. We need people coming together around democracy, around our shared values. We need to stand up, we need to rise up, and we need to do everything that we can to fight authoritarianism.
It doesn't take 1 million people. It takes you and a couple of your homies to decide that you want to make something that's not good in your community a little bit better, to do that work and build trust by doing what you said you would do over and over again, and you'll be in a movement.
Malcolm X said a quote that for Black people, there has never been a democracy, only hypocrisy. And so whenever I think of democracy, I'm always very clear that oftentimes people in my community do not see or do not vision the U.S. as being a democracy. And so in these last few years, when, things have shifted in 2016 and other times, folks are like, in my community, Black community, like, welcome to the party, to all of the other groups, because for many years, they have been striving and fighting for democracy. And so when I think of faith in terms of that, it's basically, I know somebody in my lineage, because they say 7 generations out of enslavement is like this time right now. So I'm thinking 7 generations before me, somebody was enslaved. And they somehow fought and made it. And therefore I'm able to be here today. So I know that somewhere someone had faith in believing, like, yeah, this country is not a democracy. I know that when they said we the people, it did not include us. But even still, we here, we helped build this country, and we're gonna be here. And we're gonna make sure that while we're here, we're gonna do what we can to make this nation better for other people.
So it's not about pushing racism off the table at all, but it is about saying, we really believe that it is really in white people's self-interest to, deal with structural racism and power arrangements, and I think that's the work that we need to get about doing.
I saw in my birth country, Brazil. I saw organized people, organized auto workers, help to bring down a military dictatorship. Because fighting for the rights of people at work and for decent compensation and jobs was so powerful that the generals couldn't stand up to that. I've seen hundreds of thousands of people flood the streets in places where really scary parties were trying to take over the courts and the government, right, and the police, and just say no. And I've seen very powerful politicians back down in those situations.
This particular movement, it's small, but it's growing, and you can feel it. Like, you can feel the rumbles starting, because there's a change happening and people want change.
So I got hired as a camera operator for a UVI event. And most of my jobs, it's I go, I show up, I shoot the thing, I hand off the footage, and I'm done. Sometimes it's interesting, sometimes it's just not. And I found myself behind the camera a little, I'd say distracted. I was still getting my shots, but asking myself questions about all the things they were talking about that are so important that I don't spend a lot of time with. And asking myself, when it comes to equality, when it comes to social justice and activism, like what can someone like me do with what I have right now where I am? And I have a camera, so that's where I start, I guess.
We are the answer. We are the people that we've been waiting for. Now is our time to step up, rise to the occasion, and reach out in a way that has never been done in this country, that I'm so proud that we are doing, all of us together, in this project. We are the authors of our story. This is our movement, a people's movement for democracy. Make your communities visible today. Submit your stories here.